So this is how human nature is, like the music with some noisy background and something else taking place outside. That's how our human nature operates, with many layers and many shades. So everything is an education. This is part of that. This canto also, in all its simplicity and directness, is indeed a very complex canto. It takes up humanity as it is and lifts it to what peaks. We shall see it as we go across. And right now we are dwelling upon the human side of Savitri. Several places Sri Aurobindo has revealed the human side of Savitri, the human side of the Divine Mother, embodiment, the incarnate Divine Mother. Sometimes we feel that extraordinariness lies in doing extraordinary things. But truly speaking, extraordinariness lies in doing the most ordinary things with an extraordinary attitude. This is what we find in Savitri. So she is married. Well, people get married. No big deal about it. She has loved, she has chosen, she gets married. She comes, she starts living with a husband in her in-law's place. These are events which many people experience in their life. But look how Savitri deals with it. Even the human side is so inspiring, so uplifting. So Avatar comes to show us even what an ideal humanity is, then the limitations of this ideal humanity, and then the way to transcend it. So all the three come together, and the significance of this is particularly important in the context of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. We are on page 467, and it starts with a marvelous line, driven by the singularity of her fate. It's as if everything is conspiring towards one single event. So every fate has these two sides. There is a time of destiny, which we all speak about. There is also a place of destiny. Destiny operates through space and time. A certain event has to take place within the context of this, and all the forces are pushed to lead one to that spot, which is the spot of destiny. And it can be very, very strange. Some time back, a boy had died, young boy, maybe 8 or 9, first time coming to Pondicherry. And before he could reach the Samadhi, this boy died of an accident on the turning of Oroshikha. So, a very strange thing. Of course, very sad thing. But then, many years later, the parents landed in my room in dispensary, and they had 2 more children subsequently. And the mother was so full of gratitude to the Divine Mother. I didn't know that they have gone through this. I knew about the incidents, but I didn't know what happened in the background. Till she spoke about, this is a long story, but to cut it short, she said, it was my son who brought us to Pondicherry. We had gone to Vellore and he was insisting, we must go to Pondicherry, we must go to Pondicherry. As they crossed the Pondicherry checkpost, he said, I don't want to go from here. 8-9-year-old child, I don't want to go from here. And then they came here and, well, they put themselves in the guest house or whatever, and they were walking, and the child meets with an accident and dies. But the parents were so, subsequently they went through a crisis, then they had 2 children and they grew up. But they, in their heart at the end, the essence of that experience they were carrying was that thanks to him that we came here. Sometimes destiny can operate in strange ways. So, Savitri is also very soon, she has reached the place of her destiny, though the moment has yet to come. Driven by the singularity of her fate, helpless against the choice of Savitri's heart, they left her to her rapture and her doom. In the tremendous forest's savage charge, what parents would have felt. Savage, inhuman forest. They have left their most loved child, born and brought up in a palace. But these were those, noble beings who knew how to respect the choice that their children have made. What a departure from today. So, if the child had chosen, they tried to convince, but once she had chosen, she had chosen. She says, we heard that I have chosen, father, I have chosen, it is done. So once it is done, it is done. It has to be respected and honored. So they leave her there to her doom and her rapture. This we often find in Sri Aurobindo, a mixture of two absolutely contrary emotions. At one place he speaks of delightful and dangerous world. So it's very fascinating. Another place in Ilion he says, old and feeble he came, carrying in fragile and mortal hands the destiny of a nation. Now, you just can't imagine. Only Sri Aurobindo can write, with this power and force, that old and feeble he came, carrying in his mortal and fragile hands. They were trembling. They were very weak. But what was he carrying? The destiny of a nation. What is he carrying? He is carrying the message of Achilles to Priam, that get your daughter married to me and I'll be on your side. So if he disagrees, then there will be massacre. So he is carrying the destiny of a nation, depending on what choice they make. Now this is, several places we see this in Sri Aurobindo, and I have my own logic to it, that in the divine consciousness the opposites fuse. But they no longer remain opposites, but they become complementary aspects. So when he speaks of delightful and dangerous, well, danger adds its own peculiar delight to the epic story of man. What will life be without little bit of danger, or maybe a little more of danger? It would be a very bland delight. So it adds a little spice to the taste of life. So delightful and dangerous. So here we have rapture and a doom. But look at Savitri's attitude. And here comes her nobility. All put behind her that was once her life. All welcomed that henceforth was his and hers. So in that two sentences, how she has reached, she is not thinking that, oh my God, did I really make a right choice? She is welcoming everything, and now it's no more only hers. It is his and hers. They are starting their life together. If at all there is an ideal for marriage, this is the ideal. At the same time, she puts behind everything. And this is a very practical suggestion also, because if people carry their past into their present, it can be very distressing, and it can be the cause of many ruptures even in family life. So here it's like she's put behind the palace, put behind everything, and now she belongs to this place. She abode with Satyavan in the wild woods. Priceless she deemed her joy, so close to death. So death has added to the value of her joy. Of course, she is happy to be with Satyavan. But when death is close, each moment adds to the intensity of the happiness. Because she knows, she treasures each moment. I have lost this moment also. So priceless. She is seeking for moments of togetherness. Few moments she can spend with him are marvelous. Priceless, she deemed her joy so close to death. Apart with love, she lived for love alone. What would one ask when there are just a few moments to live? So she knows this, it's possible that destiny may take him away. So what would then she love Satyavan for? But for the joy of love, not for that, okay, we'll build a big house when you are 20 and 20 years down the line. She just wants to have the full experience, the joy of that love. And that is the beauty of love, love for the sake of love. When mother was asked about rights of love, mother said there is only one right of love. It is the right of self-giving. No one can stop us from that. If we love someone, to give ourselves, that no one can stop. This is the only right. In fact, she says they speak of the rights of love. But the only right of love is the joy of self-giving. There is no other right. So she has loves for sake of love, for nothing else. As if self-poised above the march of days, her immobile spirit watched the haste of time. A statue of passion and invincible force. Again we see, normally there is a tumultuous passion in her heart. At the same time, there is such a tremendous force, immobile. Nothing can beat it. An absolutism of sweet, imperious will, a tranquility and a violence of the gods, indomitable and immutable. This is her heart. What she has brought to Satyavan in the forest is not, this is the dowry, not riches and all. That counts for nothing. But she has brought her heart, which contains within it an indomitable, immutable passion, love, and something which can stand above time. That force, the violence and tranquility of the God, she comes. And with that she comes to Satyavan. And then we see what an attitude. This is how, one needs to take life. When people come, they sometimes complain, it's so hot here, oh my God. What did mother give an advice? She said, make friends with the sun. It's a very simple advice. So wherever we are, if we can learn to make friends with that environment, because we are here, we are there. So let's make friends with it. So Savitri immediately makes friends with all the wildness of the forest. What does she do? At first, to her, beneath the sapphire heavens, the sylvan solitude was a gorgeous dream. She has left behind. That's why this contrast was so important. She has left behind a palace with nice riches. But this is a gorgeous dream. What a wonderful thing. I can sleep below the sky. I can watch the stars at night. So this is something wonderful for her. She is enjoying it. An altar of the summer's splendor and fire, a sky-topped, flower-hung palace of the gods. So she has left behind a palace that human beings built. Human beings build palace with bricks. But now she has gone to a place where everything is hers and nothing is hers. This is a wonderful state. It's a palace of the gods, built with flowers, creepers, nature, where the bed is the Mother Earth and the grass, and the sky is the, blanket. So she has come, she feels it like that. That is so wonderful. And all its scenes, a smile on rapture's lips, and all its voices, bards of happiness. Everything that she heard was music. This is the way she has come, because she has come with a heart full of love, a heart full of self-giving. Long back, mother wrote a passage when children started coming to the school, and with them the parents and a lot of people started coming. Naturally, they were not coming for yoga, but because the child had got admission. So mother gave a passage and advice to newcomers. So there she says, when people come here, they come with their psychic in front. And everything looks wonderful. The food they get from the dining hall is like nectar. Every human being appears like a saint. In the slightest things, they find beauty and joy. But with passage of time, when they settle down, when they are comfortable, they start seeing everything in a negative way. They become critical of everything. And she gives the reason. It's not because people have changed, because you have changed. In the beginning, it's the psychic in front, and then the old nature comes. So she gives the solution also. She says, what is the solution? Bring back the psychic. Simple solution. Because that's where the fault lies. It is not the universe we see, but we see ourselves in the universe, or ourselves as the universe. So she gives this remedy. It's of course a long passage running into 2.5 pages. And Dada used to give this to many people who came, that this is an advice to newcomers. They are in a collected works, volume 12. So this is how she is. She goes there and accepts and adopts everything and makes friends with everything. There was a chanting in the casual wind. So even the wind there, casually it is flowing and she is hearing it's like chanting, hymns. There was a chanting in the casual wind. There was a glory in the least sunbeam. Night was a chrysoprase on velvet cloth. Once again we see the image of a gem. Sometimes I feel that all these gems Sri Aurobindo has described in Savitri, do they have some special properties? But that will probably making it a superstition. But most of them have this yellowish, green, emerald, these colors. It's very nice, to see these. So here again we have a gem. This chrysoprase is a gem, which is basically yellowish golden, but it has a little bit of nickel in it, so that adds to its yellowish color. So night. So there is night, which is dark, velvet background. But obviously the little hermitage where she is staying, it's slightly lit. Maybe there is a moonbeam, maybe there is a little lamp. So it's like a jewel, yellowish jewel upon a velvet cloth. Look at the description of the poet. Really, this is something amazing. To visualize a whole background and then see a little hut or a house in that. In nestling darkness or a moonlit deep, day was a purple pageant and a hymn, a wave of the laughter of light from morn to eve. So what is the day? Day comes with hymns, so many birds chirping, and the rustle of the winds, the gurgling of the waters, and whatever sounds are coming, the beasts are awake. So everything is like a hymn. Sri Aurobindo describes a similar scene in Canto 1. When, he looks at winds falling on the altar hills and lifting everything to the heavens. It's a different kind of a vision of nature altogether. So day was a pageant. It's a show, like a fashion show. So different colors are coming up. So that's how she experiences the day. His absence, mother used to appreciate so much the smallest things. Sometimes a flower, a slightest something of beauty. If somebody took a cloth piece carved with, and at times amazing, she could see through not only the outside but obviously much more inside. So Amalda recounts an experience where a painting was taken to her and she saw and she said, this part is very beautiful, but this part something is missing. And it was precisely those parts where the person had consciously offered and remembered, which she found exceptionally beautiful. So it's not just the external, but the deep inside. And she would be very appreciative. Then she'll say, I'll wear it. And then she would even tell the person, look, I am wearing the dress that you make. So, this is the way everything she could see. Even that human side is so beautiful. And then what kind of love? His absence was a dream of memory. When he's away, he's going to the jungle to cut the woods. His memory is there in her. And she is rejoicing in that memory. His presence was the empire of a god. So when he came, she needed nothing else and no one else. Satyavan alone was enough. He was the emperor. Now, all this is human love. And it's very interesting. Because very often in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, we have to transcend and transform everything that is human into its divine value. So sometimes we want to jump a step. So how do we jump a step? We begin to believe that superhumanity is equivalent to inhumanity. And Mother had noted it. She says at one point that there is a kind of religion people are trying to make out of Sri Aurobindo, which is cruel and harsh, where there is no place for love and light and joy. And she says, but you must not be deceived. You must know that the Sri Aurobindo is great and merciful and kind and compassionate and loving. That's what Sri Aurobindo is. Even at a human level, whatever is sweet and joyous and happy, that is a material which can be uplifted. If it is crude, how does one change it? So humanity is a footstool, and here we see the human love of Savitri. What a human love this is. It's not just an ordinary momentary passion. A fusing of the joys of earth and heaven, a tremulous blaze of nuptial rapture past. Today itself somebody sent a mail with some 6-7 questions. The last question is, why are there pictures of nude gods and goddesses in some Indian temples? It's not about nude gods and goddesses. It's about, in India, the experiment was tried to uplift everything to its utmost possibility. And here we see it directly. Sri Aurobindo is bringing out with all the force that Savitri, even her human side, all the human movements, nuptial rapture. Can we imagine Savitri speaks about that also? And it's uplifted because in it there is something like an absolute self-giving, and that can take one to the touch of the highest. There are very interesting letters. There is a letter of Eleanor Montgomery. She was a fashion designer in America. So she writes that I had an experience which actually it's an experience of the self. And she says, but I had it during a strange moment. I had it when she was in a very intimate relationship. And she says, how is it possible? Is it something true? Is it the imagination of my mind? And the mother says, yes, what you experienced was true. And it came because at that point of time, there was only one impulsion in you, and it was the impulse to give yourself. Of course, one must put a disclaimer behind all such things. This is done by experts. Please don't try it. It's at one's own risk. These are not justifications for, all kinds of human movements. But it shows, Sri Aurobindo has spoken about it. And since he is referring it in the context of Savitri, it's worth knowing that every movement can be possibly lifted to its divine equivalent. But yes, it's difficult. Savitri could do it because in Savitri there is no deviation. When she loves Satyavan, she loves Satyavan alone. There is none else. Satyavan is her God. Now that's what the ideal of Sati in Indian context. So very often Nalini Daya has made a very interesting thing, that chastity is a state of the mind. And if we look into the mental world of people, very few can qualify to be chaste. But Savitri is truly chaste in the highest sense of the word. So chastity is not a physical condition. In her entire being, there is none else but Satyavan. And therefore she can uplift this movement to the great height, nuptial rapture. A rushing of two spirits to be one, a burning of two bodies in one flame, opened were gates of unforgettable bliss. So this is the experience that Savitri is having with Satyavan. Even her most human, most what we call as carnal experience, something which is the most difficult and dangerous with regard to our godlike surge, even that she uplifts. Such is the purifying nature of her touch. The only story that I can remember as equivalent in Indian thought is of the story of Ganga. So, Ganga loves Shiva and no one else. And Shiva is already married to Sati. But still, Ganga goes there. And there are people who say all kinds of things about Ganga. So Shiva says, whatever Ganga touches will be purified by its touch and uplifted by its touch. It cannot be otherwise. Sri Ramakrishna said something very similar about Swami Vivekananda. When people complain to him that, he has gone, he sits with all kinds of people, he drinks wine, don't you know, he eats meat also. You call him someone great and special. He said, whatever Vivekananda does, he will purify that. Now, these are very powerful things. And there are beings, Savitri is a being of that rare make, that even when she goes through a human experience, she uplifts it to divine heights. Again and again, please note the disclaimer. It's important to remember it, because two lives were locked within an earthly heaven. Earlier also when Sri Aurobindo speaks of love, he says it's a power that can recreate heaven here. Even human love has this capacity. In its highest moments, it makes one forget oneself. That's what love is about. And in a state of self-forgetfulness, one can touch that vastness, which can become an access door to the infinite. And fate and grief fled from that fiery hour. But soon now failed the summer's ardent breath. The mood changed. It was summer. The poet has described us in the beginning. It was summer and everything was like a sacrament, and she had come. And now, through nature, Sri Aurobindo is revealing the change of mood within Savitri. So summer is all full of fire. And now comes clouds and the rain. But soon now failed the summer's ardent breath, and throngs of blue-black clouds crept through the sky, and rain fled sobbing over the dripping leaves. This is amazing. Rain is falling on the leaves, and as it is dripping from the leaves, sobbing like tears. Why? Because Savitri's heart is sobbing. She knows this love is not going to last forever. It's a short period for which I can experience this joy. This joy has been granted to me, but only for a while. So it's sobbing. And storm became the forest titan voice, because she is distressed. So when there is storm, she is no more able to enjoy it. She feels, oh my God, this is the titan reminding me, your days are numbered. I am going to, it's like some deadly devil who is at the door. Then listening to the thunder's fatal crash and the fugitive pattering footsteps of the showers and the long unsatisfied panting of the wind. When winds move in rain, it's as if they are tired and panting. The winds are panting. Can we imagine that which gives breath? That is panting. What a image Sri Aurobindo is painting. I don't think there are any parallel descriptions. I can't claim to have read all the poetry in the world, but a lot of it, yes. And this kind of a description, panting winds and sobbing rain. Rain is sobbing. So, and the footsteps, pattering footsteps of the showers, and sorrow muttering in the sound-vexed night. So what is this doing to her? The grief of all the world came near to her. When all this now she is, when the rains come and go, pattering, she is remembering, fugitive happiness. When the leaves are dripping, oh, these are the tears in my heart. When there is storm and the thunder, they have come to snatch my Satyavan. So, grief is coming back to her in the silence of the night, when Satyavan is sleeping like a baby. But she is awake with all the grief in the heart. The divine must go through this. Then only he can find a solution. That's why when people ask, oh doctor, you have fallen ill. Actually, it's to the credit. Because then doctors become compassionate. They know what this pain is, what that illness is. Otherwise, they think illness is nothing. What you are for nothing, you are making a fuss, tablet and go. But when they go through the pain, they understand what really human pain is. So Mother and Sri Aurobindo have gone through everything. Then only they can know. If you look at, mother's life, parting with the child, parting with all the family, everything. Then parting even with the master, the Lord of Yoga. She has gone through all that grief. Then she can tell us that don't worry, there is hope for you. Because if there can be hope in this situation, there is hope for all of us. Night's darkness seemed her future's ominous face. Now, every night means that day is gone. That's how my future is drawing near. That's the face of death. The shadow of her lover's doom arose, and fear laid hands upon her mortal heart. Even at one place, Sri Aurobindo says, when he was said, Sir, for you it is very easy to speak of supermind and all. What do you know of what mortal humanity goes through? Sri Aurobindo says, what do I know? I have lived dangerously, literally with a sword hanging over my head. Can we imagine? In a prison where 99% you will be either sentenced, sent to the gallows or sent to Andamans. And he has lived with that. And in that state, what was his state? Sri Aurobindo describes it, that he would move between the cowshed and the place where they would make, jail industry. This was his walking space. What was he experiencing in that state? He was experiencing Vasudevam Sarvamiti. That's what he says. He used to recount this mantra of the Ishupanishad. Ekatvam Anupashyata. So he was Tatra ko moha ka shoka ekatvam anupashyata. He was recounting this sloka as he would go up and down. He would look at an ant and feel compassion. his senses of beauty opened in that prison house. So this is how he has to go through that pain experience and then discover beauty and divinity in it. Then he can tell us, don't worry, I have gone through much worse. I can give you hope. So Savitri has to first go through the human night. The moment swift and ruthless raised. But nobody waits. Time doesn't wait. It carelessly leaves its slain aside. That's how Sri Aurobindo speaks of that in beginning of Savitri. That time and nature, when they walk across, they slay and carelessly leave aside. They have gone on to something else. Why it is so, that is described elsewhere. But this is a fact we have to reckon with. So if we don't reckon with this fact, then we can't really lead a real life. We will lead a life of imagination. God is very loving, kind, compassionate, till we get hurt. And then we swing on to say God is very cruel, or we create all kinds of philosophies. This is real. Sri Aurobindo speaks of a spiritual realism. So the moments were just rushing past. The moments swift and ruthless raised, alarmed her thoughts. Her mind remembered Narad's date. This one-pointedness in her life. She's not thinking 1 year, so let me make some insurance policy. Let me start looking for alternatives. Let me try to consult some big cardiologist. Nothing. She is now focused. Very focused. One more day less in the book of joy and love. A trembling, moved accountant of her riches, she reckoned the insufficient days between. A dire expectancy knocked at her breast. Dreadful to her were the footsteps of the hours. A trembling, moved accountant. He is counting, oh, only this much left. Gone. Then again next day, again I have to spend from the capital, only this much left. Only this much left. Now very little amount is left. Look how Sri Aurobindo describes the experience of Savitri so vividly. Grief came, a passionate stranger to her gate, banished. Now why it comes like a passionate stranger? Banished when in his arms, when she was in Satyavan, with Satyavan in his arms, where was grief? There was only joy and love. Banished when in his arms, out of her sleep, it rose at morn to look into her face. So every night when she is with Satyavan, sleeping together in their arms, where is grief? There is only joy and love. But since she wakes up in the morning, there is grief knocks at the door. Look here, so many more months. One season has passed, only 3 more are left. So this is how her being is concentrated. Mother speaks of this, that when you go through suffering, she says don't ask for suffering, don't run away from it. But when suffering comes, turn it into a sharp and poignant sword to drive deep into a state of oneness where then there can be no parting. So she is turning all grief and suffering by this one-pointedness. She's not distracting herself, oh my God, this is going to happen, let me watch TV for some time, my mind will be away. She's looking at it, what it is. And that thing is becoming more and more concentrated. That's how a door will open. Vishad becomes yoga. But if we distract ourselves, then it doesn't work. Vainly she fled into abysms of bliss from her pursuing foresight of the end. The more she plunged into love, that anguish grew. What is her bliss? Satyavan. So she would cling to him day and night whenever she found him, because she is reminded of the grief. But vainly, because the torture became more intense. The more she experiences love and joy, the more she becomes aware that this is going to be snatched away tomorrow. What a predicament. But we will wait and see the solution. how people, when they experience this state of life where two very contrary things fuse, it can be very disorienting. People run away. They take to asceticism. They declare anityam asukham. This world is not worth it. It's mithya. But Savitri will do nothing of that. And that's where the greatness lies. The more she plunged into love, that anguish grew. Her deepest grief from sweetest gulfs arose. Reminds us of something. That Hindi line I am remembering. है सबसे मधुर वो गीत जिन्हें हम दर्द के सुर में गाते हैं. Of course, I think kids, our sweetest songs are those that tell of the saddest tale. It's a very high poetry. Sweetest song. Shelley, right. Thank you. Shelley. Our sweetest songs are those that sing of the saddest tale. And look how Sri Aurobindo is giving it a different turn. Her deepest grief from sweetest gulfs arose. Just the reverse. Here, sweetest song are coming from the saddest tales. But what Sri Aurobindo is, what she is experiencing, the deepest grief from sweetest gulfs. Her love, the intensity of that love has become a cause of sorrow in her life. Remembrance was a poignant pang. She felt each day a golden leaf torn cruelly out from her too slender book of love and joy. It's remarkable. Every line is simply superb. Each day is a day of joy. And it's a book of love. But it says God has given her a book only with 365 pages. It's a golden book. Each day is a treasure. Satyavan is marvelous, the jewel upon earth. And her love is wonderful, but only for a while. We see this fate sometimes befalling the avatars. The fate that Radha and Krishna had. The fate that Rama and Sita had. Because this love, it's very difficult to sustain it upon earth. There are forces that deny it. But Savitri is a victor. She has come to change the rules of the game. Thus swaying in strong gusts of happiness and swimming in forebodings, somber waves, and feeling sorrow and terror with her heart. For now they sat among her bosom's guests. Now sorrow and terror are coming closer and closer. They become her guests. They were not there in the beginning, but as the days are drawing near, or in her inner chamber paced apart, her eyes stared blind into the future's night. So now she is looking into the future, and what does she see? Oh, the death of my most loved one. What pathos is there in this? This is Sri Aurobindo's heart. Very often how we misinterpret and turn him into something cold, remote, austere. And when Dilip Kumar Roy, that's why many people couldn't understand. So Dilip Kumar Roy asked him, it looks like friendship, etc. are banned in the ashram. Sri Aurobindo says, who said so? We value friendship, affection. They are in their nature psychic. Friendship, affection, tenderness, fidelity, self-sacrifice, self-giving. They are in their nature psychic. But it is precisely because they are sacred to us that we do not want to see them broken every moment. Because the Lord is compassionate. He knows. That is why we insist so much on purity rather than cold austerity. This is the difference. Purifying an emotion is very different from cold austerity. Cold austerity makes us harsh, unloving, unkind. We throw the baby with the bath water. We start looking down upon people. That's not the path of yoga. He reminds Dilip Kumar Roy. He speaks about we insist on purity. And then he says, which can only come when these things are grounded in the soul or rooted in the rock, on the rock of the divine consciousness. That's why the divine. Not because these things are valueless. They have to be transformed. They are the material. But to transform them, they must be founded upon the soul value and the divine consciousness. If that is missing, then these things will be broken. He says that I have seen. This is the old fiasco. He doesn't want that. That is the reason why he says that, well, vital interchanges are dangerous. They are not because they lead to suffering. It will lead to pain. But wherever there was beauty of love, wherever there was a psychic moment, the mother would uplift it, encourage it. So it's something very different from a picture that we have. Out of her separate self, she looked and saw, moving amid the unconscious faces loved. They are unconscious of what she is going through. In mind a stranger, though in heart so near, the ignorant, smiling world go happily by upon its way towards an unknown doom, and wondered at the careless lives of men. Now she is experiencing what is called as vairagya. She is experiencing a state of vairagya. Is this life? Fugitive happiness, what for? Transient. Love so wonderful and yet so brief. So she is experiencing how people are unconsciously leading their life. This is a realization that is waking up in her. But again, she would not take the ascetics path. Any lesser mortal would have said, enough of it. Satyavan, that's all my life is with you. All human love is a waste. I go now, already forest is here. Divine has called me to the forest so that I can meditate alone, and would have walked. But not Savitri, because she has brought with her the passion and the violence and the tranquility of the gods. She has come to change the tables. She will question death and fate and destiny. As if in different worlds they walked, though close. They confident of the returning sun. All the people who she sees going in the morning with the plowshare and everything, even the parents of Satyavan saying bye-bye, we'll see tomorrow. They confident of the returning sun. Tomorrow when you say means you know tomorrow will be there. But Savitri knows you can't be so confident what may happen tomorrow. She is coming to grips with this. They confident of the returning sun. They wrapped in little hourly hopes and tasks. She, in her dreadful knowledge, was alone. After 1 year we will meet. We'll have a party. People have fixed the dates. That's how human life is. But she knows 1 year. Already 3 months are gone. 1 season is gone. In fact, more than that, because she has returned from that day. Narad fixes a date. This day returning Satyavan must die. That is told in the palace. So already half the time has flown past. And by the time the year turns and you leave, Satyavan would be gone. Last few lines and then we will stop. The rich and happy secrecy that once enshrined her as if in a silver bower, apart in a bright nest of thoughts and dreams, made room for tragic hours of solitude and lonely grief that none could share or know. A body seeing the end too soon of joy and the fragile happiness of its mortal love. So she is carrying that now. That place which was full of joy, always full of love, sweetness, slowly there, fear, terror, doom, sadness, sorrow, they are encroaching upon that space. And slowly she is beginning to experience the dread of the moment when this joy, this love will be snatched away from her. So we'll stop here and come back after 10 minutes and continue.